Hello, everybody. My name's Matt Cool. Thank you for checking out this edition of the Hubs Creators Meetup, where we share knowledge around Hubs, Spoke, Blender, and design, and help the community create better Hubs experiences. With us today is Shawn Johnson, aka Whystler, world builder, technical artist extraordinaire. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
So I realized when we did the actual meetup, so we're getting like the director's commentary now. I realized that we didn't really ask about your background and experience with 3D art and design and world building. And I think it might
Oh,
be good to just give people like some context there because they're going to look at your scenes and be like, why can't I create like as beginners? Maybe they'll be like, why can't I do this like
right.
so easily? Yeah. So
Okay. Do you want me to just go?
that'd be
Tell
great.
you what.
Yeah.
Okay. So I graduated with a degree in music and fine art. So there's that end of it, I guess. But then it wasn't until, and that was in a long time ago, 1992. Uh, but it wasn't until 1998 that I stumbled across Active Worlds. And I kind of took my interest in the text virtual worlds that were around in that time, muds and that sort of thing, muds and mushes, into a graphical area. And then I started learning 3D with Active Worlds. And the way that we did that was by typing it out in like a notepad interface. You typed out all the vertices and you typed out all the polygons and then all the shapes. And we made cool things. Then I learned some 3D programs so that were really, really early versions of what we have today and started using them. Then I went to Adobe's Atmosphere, which was an amazing platform. It had all kinds of the ability to generate shadows like we have today, which no other platform did. And I did some work with them. I built some stuff and even got paid. Um, so it was pretty fun. Uh, that was Adobe's Atmosphere, and that was probably about the year 2000 ish. I did some stuff in Second Life, uh, played in so many different virtual reality desktop versions, anyway, things, and just continued to learn more programs and more programs. I got involved with IMVU eventually in about 2006, and there I was able to make some money doing it using 3D Studio Max and making clothing and different environments that people would buy. Uh, and that's still I'm getting royalties from that, which is awesome. And Second Life, I don't know if I mentioned that. I did a bit of stint in Second Life, but I really kind of liked looking at the peripheral things and trying to find that platform that wasn't going to disappear due to wanting to make a profit. And finally I found Hubs more recently, and it's neat because it's hooked up with an actual VR headset, uh, so people can see it like full on VR, and it's open source. And hopefully, if and even if Mozilla drops it one day, hopefully it'll keep going. So at least there's that sort of safety that my worlds won't go by forever.
And speaking of your worlds, what are we looking at now?
This is Guelph Station. It's a world I built for my city that I live in, Guelph. It is meant kind of like a spacey hangout, but I put some sort of nods to Guelph. Like there's a big fountain in the square in Guelph that has a family playing basketball with a baby, and this I kind of did a minimalized version of that in the center. If you've seen, during this thing, you've maybe seen the fountainy thing, and I also saw you go upstairs with the thing, and there's a bear up there, which is a statue that's also in my city that the students dress up all the time. So.
So they take they like import GLBs in there and just drag them over the bear. Is that how that works?
Oh, people don't do that here. No.
Oh, you
But
mean the
in
real
real
Guelph?
life, yeah, there's a bronze bear in front of the art gallery on campus, and it's always being dressed up for whatever reason. I think it's got a mask on right now uh, with one of those hazmat suits on or something like that. It hasn't had very much action in this room. It really hasn't caught on, but I like it because I don't know. It's one of the first rooms I made, and it was kind of like my early work in trying to play with shadows.
All right. So how about where are we now?
I tried to wrap that last one up because I saw this
Yeah.
this coming. Now we're in a room called Puzzle Temple, which is lit very similarly to the Guelph station in that it's lit just with one texture. All of the lighting is built into the texture that goes over the whole thing. Unlike what we can do now, which is you can have a separate layer for the lighting. Problem with that is that you often will get a lot of sort of unless you have an absolutely huge file, you'll get a lot of pixelation. So I had to do some tricks to get rid of the pixelation, and one of that was playing with filters, just kind of mask it and kind of make it look a little bit less grainy, but by the same time embracing some of the graininess because I really kind of like the graininess. I mean, it's almost a sketchiness, almost like a pointillism. I think I said that the last time. Pointillism. There's actually an artist, and again, I still can't remember their name, um, that does these environments. I think that they're to look very ancient, like this one was meant to be. Um, I think they must use just the regular blender lighting, but it's so grainy, like, and it's just, I don't know, so beautiful. Just to quickly, before this room moves on, I should say that I own an escape room facility. And so there's a puzzle in this room that was meant to move on um, to another room. Uh, that never happened because Hub still has a ways to go. With respect to that sort of interactivity. I'm sure they're going to get there. Um, but it looks like we're going there now in the video. And in this room, it's a type of grid puzzle where if you do the right thing, then you'll be over certain letters, and the letters were meant to be the URL to the next room. But there is no next room. There's a little bit of light ambient occlusion that I did in this room using um, by lighting it with ambient occlusion instead of just with the sunlight, which I also did in this room here. And basically, I take things into Inkscape, and I will make all the black uh, uh, opaque and all of the white transparent. So I can layer it as many times as I want and get a really deep sort of shadow.
And you see Alan there just in awe of the ceiling right now.
Looking at the
It's
ceiling.
funny watching him look up.
This room, I'm sorry I keep talking so much, but it's moving faster than as we're saying in the room. This room is meant to be like toys. So it's sort of built with like toy building blocks. And that's why all of the railings look like those little game pieces that you might use in a game like Sorry or something like that. And all the columns are identical, and the arches and everything is supposed to look like it's been painted on by hand in a sort of maybe a Scandinavian style. There was a question that was asked during this that was a really good point about, I can't remember what the question was, but my answer was something I wanted to share, and that was that sometimes in a room like this, I'll carve it up into identically lit pieces. So that's really useful in a round room like this ballroom because I could just light just one pie wedge of it, and then copy it, and then just put it over, and then it uses exactly the same texture set. Then I don't have to have a huge texture. Um, I can't remember how I divided it up, but it was a bit tricky. Um, and I did that. It's a lot easier when I do it in rooms that I can just do straight down the middle. And that's a technique I recommend to a lot of people if you don't mind this sort of symmetry that results from that, then if you just split your world down the center and then you only have to light half of it, the texture, and then just mirror it over. Yeah,
Very nice. I love this one.
it's fun. I like to have the avatars that look similar to the one that I'm wearing there, that look like they're hand painted, um, sort of peg doll style. I made a couple. I made like a wooden soldier and a ballerina top. I think it was Christmas time maybe when I did this.
I didn't know that those were yours, but that makes sense. Yeah. I've seen those. Yeah.
Yeah, gotta make some congruent avatars. And there's a mistake across the way there where the robot's hanging out. I forgot to texture those game pieces. So they're just wood. They don't have the color on them, but nobody's going to know until they watch this. I can't think of what else to say about this, except it's neat that like this is obviously being viewed in a desktop. So you see a bit of the sheen that comes from the materials that are available with hubs, which I love, but you can't see when you're on a mobile device. It just kind of gives it that lacquered look, which I thought really worked well in this little scene.
Yeah, and for this meetup, we had people joining in headsets and on mobile and desktop. So it was really fun. And in the next, I think it's the next one or the one after, we start throwing screenshots up of different views, which was kind of interesting and good
Oh,
for
that's
meetup. Yeah,
right.
remember that?
Yeah, that's cool. That'll be neat to see that. I think that was in the Atmosphere Lounge. Oh, this is a quote on the floor from Shakespeare about dancing. Because I don't know, it fit in the this was a scene that replaced the previous scenes that we were looking at in this session, but in the actual world it has a sort of a music box, a Russian music box tune. Oh, somebody had mentioned, remember they said it would be cool if you could have the sun and the window like move and stuff. And at first I was like, yeah, that would be cool, but then I thought, yeah, it actually would be cool because you could put like a key that would turn as if you had wound it up, and then the sun kind of moved. That's a neat idea.
That was such a good idea, and I forget who proposed that, but
Yeah,
it was good.
yeah, for sure. Cool. Maybe I talked too fast because I didn't catch up to the
That's all right. We can always
next
just fill
thing.
this in with some of that music box music.
Ding 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 ding
Yeah.
ding 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 ding
Yeah.
ding ding. Yeah, I wonder where I got that. I could just send you the MP3 file and you could use it. It was a lot of work, but fun designing the images for this. Like things just kind of come together. Okay, so here we're in another place. Did you want me to just keep talking, or did you want to pop in and ask questions?
Yeah, no, this is great. Yeah, anything, yeah.
Okay, this is a world that I made procedurally in Blender with an add-on called Sorcar. And if you're interested in that, there's tons of YouTube videos, Sorcar, and then Blender would be your search terms. Um, and then I lit it just with the one texture again. But I kind of programmed it to make these shapes and sort of at random choose which ones would go up more levels, and then at random decide where to put the windows. And it's a pretty big complex to kind of walk around in. And I liked that from an exploratory uh, standpoint. Like you can kind of get lost in it. Maybe at some point I'll actually, like everybody. spawns into the same point in this world. Maybe at some point I'll get them to be scattered all over the place and they have to find each other. That might be fun.
Yeah, and the I don't know what the camera operator is doing. They're all over the place. Apologies for that, but yeah, you could see there's like this deformity. It was very interesting the way that buildings were deformed and things like that. So
Oh, neat.
wanted to mention that too.
And here we are at the Atmosphere Lounge, which is one of my favorite places that I've made because it's so moody. And the camera person is on desktop, so you get to see the materials that were meant to be here, and the lighting. So you got the shine on the marble floor, and you got the shadow on the wall under the light sconce. I didn't really talk much about my inspiration for this room. It's Art Deco in style, which I love, Art Deco. Um, and the outside is based on a building in Los Angeles, but just loosely. But it's meant to have that sort of retro futuristic Art Deco feel. Um, and that's kind of shown in my buddy there. I made him too. He's the lounge bot. All of the posters are from NASA, whatever you say. Um, they all feature different planets in a sort of touristy way, like visit the planet Venus for its, amazing whatever. But I thought those were kind of fun, and they're available for free. Oh, here we go. Somebody's put a screenshot outside what it looks like so flat in when you're using your mobile, because on mobile you don't get the shine of the gold or the shine of the floor or any of the shadows at all. But I think more people will put them up pretty soon. You'll see those.
Do a lot of your scenes start with sort of like some kind of mood board where you have these buildings like the one in LA that you use for inspiration here? Is that kind of what's like that process like of you want to build a new scene? What's kind of like how do you begin with that?
Yeah, good question. I search online for all kinds of pictures, and that's why Pinterest is amazing, because I must have like 17 hubs something else uh, boards on Pinterest. And when I built this, I didn't build it for hubs, mind you. I built it for Sansar. Um, but yeah, like I fill it up with all kinds of, for example, Art Deco pictures, and then go from there from the architectural standpoint. This is me posting a shot of what it looks like to us, and the people who are on their phones are saying things like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize it looked like that." But yeah, that's my Pinterest is my mood board. And I highly recommend Pinterest because you can just get lost in all kinds of wonderful rabbit holes. Um,
And you can see I'm just zooming in on different
yeah, my
things that
little
I
table.
just kind of thought was interesting. So I just so sorry
Thanks.
sorry about that. I was just like, whoa, look at this table. I didn't notice this. Yeah.
The table's fun. It's got its own Saturn rings that just kind of
Mhm.
float there. Those are those posters. And I like that bird avatar. I don't know where that came from. Who does that? But yeah, it looks very flat if you're on mobile. And this is why we like to bake in the shadows, as I did on those previous scenes that we were in. You can't bake in shine or anything very believably. And there's an example of how it looks on mobile. I feel so bad for the mobile people.
Yeah, they're missing out.
Yeah. So I think this is the one of the first worlds I put up on hubs, and it's what kind of convinced me to learn how to bake properly using Blender, which is a process. My gosh, make sure you follow whoever's listening to this. Follow the hub's information uh, from their YouTube channel because it's really good. And Jim and Dom, they just go into all of the details, hours and hours of it, and then they divide it up into like little segments. So if you just want to learn about one kind of bit of lighting, then you can just open up that little segment.
That's a great tip. Yeah, I've watched those videos so many times.
Me too. Because I forget I'm old. I told them I was a perennial newbie because I'll do stuff in hubs and then I'll be gone for 6 months and then I'll come back and I won't remember anything and I'll ask stupid old person noob questions.
Oh no, same
And they're
here.
always very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I've
too.
learned how to use UV scroll like at least 20 times. So
Why is that? I
I
don't know.
just it's just gone after, if I don't use it for a week, it's gone.
Is that like, I wonder if that, I thought it was an age thing, but you're not as old as me. So it must just be an internet age thing. So this is one that I did because I was kind of experimenting with two things. One, like a bigger place that you could go more places. Normally, you can't fly around in my worlds like this because I'm mean. And I actually, well, I'm not mean. I actually want people to explore it like on the ground as if they're there. But this is really cool to see it zoomed out. Um, those do not have any lighting on them. This is just very sparsely lit. I think this might have been one of the first ones that I actually had like a secondary. I used that second UV map layer that again Jim and Dom talk about and go into detail and tell you exactly how to do, which is good because then I don't have to explain it. Um, the I can talk about how I did the texture on this. It's meant to kind of have sort of a Bugs Bunny Roadrunner look in the style, and so I took a picture of a sandstone texture, a real one, and then I imported it into Inkscape, which is a vector program. So you can trace these pixel slash raster images. And I did the same thing with the style sky. And then Inkscape will uh, trace it, which basically is like a posterize function if you've used that in Photoshop or whatever. But it gives you layers of color that are all vectors. And then I used a simplify tool, like it just melted everything. And I think I really like the style. Um, there's a simplified style in alt space that create the whoever they hire to make um, their main worlds uses, and I loved it because very few places have avatars that are realistic looking, and it's hard to justify a goofy robot in front of an actual stone image. So I endeavored to just really sort of calm down the reality of my textures in hubs. So that kind of fits, makes you feel more comfortable and not like you're in a Facebook bubble of, Mexico with a goofy cartoon avatar on top of that. So this space, you might as well come and see it at some point. I talked about the stone circle, and I guess we're going up there now. It's like you can read my mind in the past. I've got a funky stone circle up here with some particles, which is another really cool feature of hubs, that you can have these particles in moderation. And then I just like the whole feel of the shadows um, that the stones will that I knew the stones would kind of throw. Around the other side, there's an amphitheater, which in the main room uh, version of this, it has a video playing from Vimeo, because Vimeo is it doesn't work like YouTube. You can actually see those videos over time, whereas unfortunately with YouTube, as many of you know, the video pooches out eventually because YouTube freaks out due to whatever algorithm they're using.
You can see us, we're little ants now down there.
Yeah, having a chin wag down there.
Yeah. getting very artistic with my camera operation here.
Very cool.
We're doing a big pan out with the
Yeah,
drone.
nice. It does feel like a drone, doesn't it? Everybody's chatting, asking questions. Okay. Here's another puzzle world where I started to think there was some things I could do with hubs that kind of fell through. Um, Basically, you have to figure out the number with the information you have there, and you can't fly normally. Once you figure out the number, I thought you could do a hashtag followed by the number, and then it would jump you to a waypoint. I thought that's how waypoints worked. I wonder if they'll consider that now. But anyway, when you figure that out, and my hope was you could do that in chat. You can't, but it would teleport you up to um, the other side. I don't know if this will turn around. The camera will probably eventually turn around and look at the building. And there's like a little balcony that comes out of the building, and then you can go down the stairs inside of the building and click a link, which was my second mistake, because everybody can find the links just by clicking on the object bit. They're not hidden per se. But I think somebody during this session actually um, spoke about wanting to have that kind of a functionality in their custom fork of hubs, and that there was a possible way to do. Somebody mentioned there might be a way to do that. So
Mhm.
because hubs is open source and everybody's working on it, go to the light.
Some more artistic choices that I was making there. Apologies, everybody.
No, that's good. That's exactly what you're supposed to do when get the code and get teleported, and then you go into the light to the next puzzle thing. Um,
Oh, and real quickly, that sketch effect, is that from
oh
a
yeah, 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 yeah.
texture? I think you used some sort of filter, right?
Yeah, yeah. I really love using filters, and this particular one is as a charcoal sketch effect. You can find these filters online if you don't have a program like Photoshop that does it, which I don't. And the program, I recommend Lunapic, Lunapic. Do a search for that. Here we are in my latest
Yeah.
room, uh, which I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. I made this room because I belong to a medieval society called the Society for Creative Anachronism. And our local kingdom is the province of Ontario in Canada. I'm from Canada. Um, and all of the heraldry in this room, all of these pennants, they represent the heraldry of each of the local groups. Like my city will have one of those. And then these trilliums are part of the heraldry of the whole kingdom. So it kind of gave that sort of personal feel to it. The trillium, the knotwork trillium up there on the wall too is supposed to, be part of that story, um, type of thing. And all the trilliums on the wall, because in medieval times you didn't always see the bare stone. Like sometimes it was crazy busy on the walls with the painting that they would do on the walls in medieval times. I didn't want to go that far because because we tend to have a medieval sensibility these days that are more Game of Thrones somber. But this is what the walls would often look like, painted in medieval times, amongst the robots and the Christmas hats. I made these avatars for the SCA people, and I'm wearing one of them. Very simple, again, the sort of peg doll style, for them to be able to just use Windows Paint pixel by pixel and paint them themselves. And they did a really great job of customizing, because I knew they'd want to put their costumes on the avatars that they're used to wearing in real life that they can't wear these days because we don't get together during the pandemic. And it's been really good. Like it's a good social time for us to go in here while all of the other events that they do, like classes and meetings they do on Zoom. But here we can use the awesome spatial audio in hubs where, a few of us can gather in one corner talking about, I don't know, spinning or embroidery, and a bunch of other jockey types can talk about hitting each other with sticks that are supposed to be the swords in the SCA, and some of us can chat about music. So the size of the space and Hub's ability to have spatialized audio really, it's really awesome. That's another reason I like Hubs and keep coming back. There's Yvonne. She had mentioned her conference that was it a conference or a festival?
I thought it was some kind of animation festival,
Oh, okay, yeah.
right?
She was giving that a good plug. Oh, this is, I should say that this is based on the Knights Hall in the Abbey of Mont Saint Michel. Um, these seating areas by the windows, they're not part of the actual building. They're part of a different Knights Hall. So this is kind of a hybrid between the Knights Hall at Mont Saint Michel and another Knights Hall. And then I put a stage so that we could have our, king and queen do their courts, or we can do classes in here. Um, and again, this is a newer room, so I'm using the secondary UV channel for all of the lighting, which is great. But it was lit by splitting it right down the center where the door is. So one side is identical to the other side, except for a few props that I kind of snuck in differently. So you can make bigger areas and maximize the use of your textures with the. Oh, and also I use that layered effect because when you use the UV map, the secondary UV map, it gives a very washed out currently uh, shadow. And for indoor textures where you want this more dramatic, moody shadows, it's okay for outside, but for inside, I layered them heavily. Like I really punched up those shadows to make them darker.
We just got through a bunch of really good tips and
Yeah,
some even a couple of new things that we missed from the meetup. I feel like we hit everything, right?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Um, I just kind of Rick started riffing off of the things that I saw, so I hope that it will help people
Yeah, that was
uh,
great.
to make interesting spaces.
I think it's going to inspire a lot of folks to start,
Yay!
going. I really do. That's why I was really excited about this meetup in particular, because I think sometimes people need to see, what can be done before, taking that leap into it.
Yeah.
And then if you're just starting learning, it's also pretty intimidating to just jump into Blender and, start playing around with that, all that stuff. So
Oh, Blender is
yeah,
intimidating. Like you're right. Like whoever's listening to this and thinking it's intimidating, it is intimidating. But you can't deny yourself that. Just jump into Blender because it's free, and it's going to be around a lot longer than something as a result than something like 3D Studio Max. So if you learn Blender now, you're going to be able to use it in 10 years.
yes, and it's not that bad. Start making donuts, and I did it. I
Yeah.
started I started last year, and I've been really, and I've never done any 3D modeling or anything, and it's been really fun to learn and to just try to create things. And so
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
jump in and
And there's tons of
get going.
tutorials too, right? So
So much,
like
so
the
many
donut one.
resources. It's insane. Yeah, you gotta get your donuts in, but then you have Grant Abbott and all these really great YouTubers that
Hmm.
post awesome, just awesome content for free. So yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, thanks so much again.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting
Yeah,
me.